It's great to be in the SEC. Welcome back to the SEC Recap Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Warren. This is our SEC Week 2 preview. This is Saturday, September 6, 2025. Putting this out on a Thursday morning. Live here on YouTube today, but this will still be around through Friday and before the games kick off. On Saturday, week 2 is upon us. It's loaded yet again. We've got non-conference blockbusters, some old rivalries happening in the SEC, and plenty of SEC versus everybody else. Today, we're going to break down what I think are the bigger matchups from kickoff times, taking a look at the spreads, the money line, point margin, advanced stats, all of that with the perfect mix of hype and analysis. So strap in here for a few minutes of some college football fun. We're going to dive right into the matchups. What I think is one of the bigger ones of the weekend, Michigan at Oklahoma. It's going to be number 15 Michigan at number 18 Oklahoma. I believe this is a night game on ABC. Must see game of week 2. Primetime clash between two top 20 teams. This is also Oklahoma's first really big test of the season. And it comes against a really good blue blood program. So storylines here are endless, but let's set the stage. This is going to be under the lights in Norman. 85,000 fans. Oklahoma eager to prove that they belong in that playoff conversation. So I think the energy here is going to be absolutely electric. Now, both of these teams got their feet wet in week 1 without a whole lot of trouble. OU shut down Illinois State. Really stingy defense. But again, against that kind of competition, what do we really know? Michigan beats New Mexico. Very workmanlike, but, didn't exactly cover a huge spread there, 34-17. So neither team was truly tested, which makes this game a major step up in competition. So that's what I'm excited about. Let's talk matchups. Two very elite defenses. Okay, last year, both of these teams featured very, very good defenses, among the top in the nation. Michigan allowing just a 38% success rate. Oklahoma allowing just 36% success rate. So that is top tier shutdown defense on both sides. They have very, very aggressive front sevens, very athletic secondaries. Don't be surprised if points in this game are at a premium. That's what I'm expecting. My model doesn't give you an over-under here. But based on the defensive caliber of these two teams, I'm not expecting, high scoring. Let's talk about the offenses. Michigan's offense, adjusting to Bryce Underwood at quarterback, top quarterback recruit. This is going to be his first road start in Norman at night. Michigan's strength, however, is that offensive line and that run game. So they're going to try to protect the young quarterback, give him a heavy dose of a ground attack behind that massive O-line. And they don't need him to be flashy. They just need Bryce Underwood to be efficient here. Oklahoma brings in John Mateer, the transfer from, was it Washington State? And he already looks good. He was kind of being counted on as that personnel piece to really change this offense and make the offense dynamic. So Michigan's stout defensive front versus OU's offensive line. That'll be the key matchup for me. They got some monsters in the trenches there in Ann Arbor. So whichever team can consistently win that line of scrimmage, Mateer could be under some pressure. But if that Oklahoma offensive line holds up, kind of opens up the whole field for the Sooners. Play action, quarterback draws, you name it there. So for me, this one feels like it's going to come down to the wire. It's the, I think, only 25 on 20 top 25 matchup of the day. Could even be a preview of a future college football playoff game like LSU Clemson was last week. So if you're a neutral fan, you'll love this chess match. And if you're betting, good luck to that. I personally don't sports bet. I just show you the numbers that my model puts out. But I could see taking the points with Michigan. Could have some appeal given that defense, at least at what Vegas is giving you. My model is usually a little bit different, right? But no matter what, by late Saturday night, we're going to have a huge storyline. Either Oklahoma proves they are playoff caliber by knocking off Michigan, or Michigan goes into Norman and owns the SEC. And, that happened last week, Florida State against Alabama. It happened last week, Ohio State, Texas. So I'm kind of pulling for an SEC rebound here. Now, my model has this essentially as a coin flip, right? My model predicts for the home team. So in this case, Oklahoma is the home team. So when you see this predicted margin here, Oklahoma minus 2.1, that's not a betting spread. This is just predicting that Michigan, with that 57.8% win probability, is going to win by a field goal. And it could be that close. However, since it's so close, since it's a coin flip, I'm going to flip it on my model. I'm going to say Oklahoma wins this one by a field goal. I'm going to stick with my SEC guns here. So give me Oklahoma by a field goal, 3-point game at home, an exciting one where points are definitely at a premium. All right, let's switch gears here to our first good old-fashioned SEC on SEC crime slugfest. We got Ole Miss going to Lexington for a revenge game after what Kentucky did to them as a road underdog in Oxford last year. This matchup dripping with revenge and redemption. Wildcats pulled off a stunner of an upset in Oxford, which really derailed Ole Miss's playoff hopes. And I think Lane Kiffin remembers this one. I think they've had this date circled in red all offseason. It is time for the Lane Train Revenge Tour to make its way to Kroger Field. Now, both of these teams are 1-0, but in very different ways, right? Ole Miss obliterated Georgia State like 63-7 in week one, really flexing a lot of offense. They had 15 players making their first start, and they still looked explosive. By the way, I see a few of y'all tuning in here live. Thank you very much. I appreciate you watching here on YouTube with me this morning. And then Kentucky struggled a bit with Toledo. So, 24-16 in a game that really never should have been that close, although my model actually predicted a potential for a Toledo upset last week. I did think it would be pretty close there. So Kentucky was a 10-point favorite and failed to cover that due to a late Toledo touchdown. We've always had questions about the Wildcats offense, right? Like that's always there's never been a lot of explosiveness there for Kentucky. Whereas that's exactly what you get from Ole Miss. That's exactly what you get from Ole Miss. So my model really likes Ole Miss in this one, as you can see, almost a 94% win probability, a bigger spread than what you'll see from Vegas. A 17-point win margin, just not seeing much for the Cats. Kentucky's offensive line versus an Ole Miss defensive front that is still very, very disruptive. Kentucky is traditionally strong in the O-line, but last year they were just kind of middle of the pack. Can they protect the QB? Can they make lanes for the running back against that defense? I think Ole Miss is going to pin their ears back with blitzes. And also Ole Miss's wideouts versus Kentucky's secondary. I think, man, some of those transfer receivers, they just have speed on speed to burn. I think Kentucky's corners are going to be under pressure in this game. If they gamble and miss, I think they're going to get hit with a long bomb over the top. So what could make the game closer? Turnover, special teams, pace. If Kentucky can force a couple takeaways, a strip sack or a tip pass, interception, something like that. Kind of the same storyline in every game, right? Get shorten the game with long, slow drives. That's what Kentucky loves to do. You got a fighting chance, but I just don't see it happening, y'all. I just don't see it happening. The Rebels are on a mission. Cats are trying to play spoiler again, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Kentucky can muck it up enough to drag the Rebels into a fourth quarter fight. I think this one is going to run away from Kentucky early. So my model likes Ole Miss big in this one, 3 scores easily. And Ole Miss gets their revenge. Ole Miss gets their revenge. Stay tuned for that one. That one should be really, really good. Looking forward to that one. That is, sorry, I didn't say it up front, but that's going to be the afternoon game, I believe. So before Michigan, Oklahoma kicks off, we get the Kentucky Ole Miss action. One more, let's see, big one. Kind of skip here. I like Kansas at Missouri this week for some excitement. Now, this is also an afternoon game, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. I think kind of a cool border war matchup. Tigers, Jayhawks. This is in Columbia, in Como. And again, really close game. My model views this one as almost a toss-up. You know, what are the matchups to watch? I think Mizzou's defense, pretty good defense last year, allowing just a 41% success rate, particularly stout against the run. Really good linebackers, but I think they're going to have a couple out this week. Kamara and Sip, the injury bug biting there. So if Kansas is aware of this, I think they are they going to look for that quarterback to attack the middle with some RPO plays, quick slants, kind of force those backup LBs into some tough spots? Mizzou's secondary is very experienced with Rakestraw, and I forget the other guy's name, but they'll need to communicate well to those new linebackers to handle Kansas's motion. But I like Mizzou's defense in this game. I also like Mizzou's offense versus Kansas defense. Now, I think this is definitely going to be a tougher test than what they had last week, excuse me. Rivalry games are often about emotion and discipline. How to handle the emotions. There's going to be chirping, maybe a late hit or two, some sideline scuffling, right, as those players get amped up. You've got to channel that into execution with the edge. Turnovers are big here. Kansas, I think, had a couple fumbles last week despite the win. So one more layer to think about. We talk about rivalries being restored, especially the older ones. Both of these teams might have a little bit of the chip on their shoulder. Now, these players probably weren't even old enough to remember when this rivalry was a thing. But they know Mizzou left them to go on to bigger and better things in the SEC. They'd love nothing more than to go into Como and knock off an SEC team and say Big 12 over SEC. Everybody loves knocking off the SEC. It's a pride game for fans and alumni, as much for just bragging rights for those players. My model likes Mizzou in this game in a close one. 3-point game. I think Vegas might have it a little bigger than that, home game for Mizzou. But, my model looks at slightly different things. So I expect a few momentum swings. Perhaps Mizzou jumps out 10 points early, feeding off that crowd. Kansas adjusts, storms back. This could be tied or within a field goal in the fourth quarter. I think turnovers will tell the tale. Whichever side wins that battle likely wins the game. So I am going to, not cautiously, confidently stick with Missouri to edge it out by a hair, maybe 30-27, something like that, given the home crowd and a slight talent advantage in the trenches. But this is a true rivalry toss-up. Anything can happen, okay? So don't leave your seat when this one is on. This could end up being sneakily the game of the day. But give me Mizzou. Give me Mizzou. Give me the Tigers by a field goal at home. Before we wrap up here, let's touch on a few other notable games and storylines happening in the SEC, because there's plenty else happening outside some of these more marquee matchups. Another really interesting one is Arizona State coming to Mississippi State. Now, this is flying under the radar, but could be upset special. My model likes Arizona State quite a bit. You'll see almost an 80% win probability here, but the point margin's pretty close. I mean, Mississippi State gets them at home in Starkville. The Clanger will be going. Vegas has this as a 6-point game, so we're pretty close here. 3.7, 6. Arizona State's bringing back a high-powered offense led by dynamic QB, a lot of skill talent. Mississippi State's defense struggled a lot. They really could not stop a sneeze last year. So if that hasn't improved, the Sun Devils could put up big numbers. State's cowbell Cowbell clangers are going to try to make life hard for ASU. But I don't know, man. There's something about like that's such a weird environment to go play in on the road if you're not used to it. This could be a big win for the SEC. So I know this isn't like Arizona State is ranked 12, right? Mississippi State unranked. This could be a huge upset, even if, say, Kansas upsets Mizzou, even if, say, Michigan beats Oklahoma on the road. I wouldn't call that an upset. This could be a big time get for the SEC, and it's possible. I'm not picking it. My model's not picking it, but this is a pretty big over under. I like the offensive explosiveness in this game. So look for kind of like maybe a wild back and forth with a potential Bulldogs upset here. Could be very, very exciting. And I'll quietly pull for Mississippi State here to get that upset at home. Another one I really, really like, y'all. South Florida at Florida. Again, my model is picking Florida to win this game at home pretty handily, okay? My model picks for the home teams. If you're watching here on YouTube or Spotify podcasts, you'll see the model up on screen. 75% win probability, when 8.1% win margin. So everything favors the Gators. But USF and that upset of ranked Boise to start 1-0, and now they get a shot at the Gators. Florida cannot snooze here. You cannot snooze. They did pitch a 55-0 shutout in week 1 against an FCS team in Long Island. It's a great confidence builder, but they've got a brutal schedule ahead of them, and I honestly think it starts this week with this game. So this is one of the easier games, if you want to call it easy, but that just means they need to handle their business, okay? Vegas has this as a much larger spread. They have this as like a 17-point game. My model doesn't think so. If USF's defense shows up like they did against that Boise offense, this could be closer. Watch for Lagway to see if he can get that passing game going. I think both of these teams are reasonably familiar with one another. Florida's seen this offense before. This is Alex Golesh. It's that Josh Heupel, Tennessee, same style of offense. So we could see Florida pull away late. But if it's close at halftime, might be a little nervous in the swamp. Last one I like for the day. Again, interesting. Vanderbilt at Vatech. And my model likes Vanderbilt. And I ran this multiple times. I even retrained it twice and blended it in with some 24 data. My model likes Vanderbilt by more than a touchdown here. 80% win probability at Vatech. Now, I know Vatech kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit against South Carolina last week, but even Vanderbilt on the road, I don't know. My numbers are seeing something where it just doesn't think much of Vatech. So could Virginia Tech win this game? Absolutely. This could be, what you're seeing on screen here could be completely wrong. But the PREcap likes Vandy, man. Don't sleep on this one. Even if, this is one of the few evenly matched games for Vandy this year. Commodores are always trying to climb out of the SEC basement and get some respect. Beating a brand name program like Virginia Tech on the road would be a statement win, even though it's not what we would consider like a vintage Virginia Tech team. Vegas thinks this is a pick 'em. So if Vegas thinks this is a pick 'em and my model likes Vanderbilt by a touchdown, Diego Pavia, take care of the ball. Defense kind of contain Vatech's quarterback. A Vandy win here on the road would be just another talking point for the SEC versus ACC. It's a night game. I think that might not get much attention, especially with that Oklahoma-Michigan game. But I'm genuinely interested to kind of, keep up with this one. Could be like 24-17, depending on what Vatech's offense looks like. So, yeah, give me the doors. Give me the Commodores. Yeah, we really have a really nice – it's not as prime time as week 1, but a really, really nice stacked week 2 slate. SEC has a little bit of everything this Saturday, top 25, some rivalry games, some SEC on SEC action, big name programs taking on upset-minded underdogs, and even some feel-good stories out there. So it's only week 2, but these games are going to set the tone for the rest of the season. Real quick, before we kind of get out of here, let me just take a quick moment and plug my merch. Guys, I'm not sponsored. I do this completely for free, for fun. I just sell a few t-shirts and have a donation QR here up in the corner, but I highly encourage you to head on over to the store, bonfire.com/store/SEC recap, and check out the merch. I have a brand new Saturdays collection, which I'm featuring here on the screen, featuring the Texas Longhorns Saturdays collection. And I'm wearing here on the podcast. I'll stand up here so you can see it. My Big Doink Energy t-shirt. Show your love for Big Doinks with the Big Doink Energy tee. All of our stuff comes in t-shirts, long sleeve, sweatshirt, hoodie, a few color options to pick from, and it all feels really nice. It is about to be fall. It is about to be bonfire season. So head on over to bonfire.com/store/SEC recap and check out the merch. They make great gifts for friends, family, or for yourself, just if you want something nice. To all the fans out there, soak it in, man. It's just the beginning, right? But soak it in. It's week 2, but this is going to be over before you know it. This is why we love college football. Every Saturday is a roller coaster, full of emotion, storylines, some feel-good stories. Whether you're watching for your team, scouting for future opponents, week 2 in SEC has everything you need. I think that's going to do it for our preview. This Saturday, the SEC takes center stage once again. It's going to be a blast, and I can't wait to find out. Thanks again for watching. Enjoy the games. Grab your favorite game day beverage, settle in on the couch, head out to the stadium, get ready for some SEC football fireworks. Until next time, this is the SEC Recap Podcast. I am Ben. Follow me on Twitter at SEC Recap. We'll catch you next week.